Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, welcome. Welcome to every single one of you guys that are connected here to this webinar, Wednesday at 12 noon. I'm going to get started. I'm going to dive right into it. We're going to cover quite a few, so I really hope, for the ones that don't know me, my name is Raul Luna from Modesto, California. This is where I live, although majority of my business really happens in the Bay Area. For the ones that are not familiar, the Bay Area is from San Francisco to San Jose. Those are the markets that we're pretty much really heavily vested. And what I want to be able to cover today is one of my favorite topics. We're going to kick off this series of webinars moving forward, just so that you know, every single Wednesday, we're going to be having this webinars at 12 noon, and they're going to go through us anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And the whole goal of it is to be able to add value to our real estate community, from people that are, savvy already into the real estate field, people that are new, and wants to, continue learning and really getting their feet wet. And the entire goal is to be able to deliver this message and to build an audience that literally cares about, their well-being, their, finances, that you care honestly about building a great legacy life that you want to not only live for yourself, but you want to pass on also to your loved ones, all right? So today we're going to cover how to build a cash flow empire through real estate, all right? And for the ones that don't know me, I just want to give you a little bit of my, my background for the new people that are here in the webinar and haven't either met me in person or don't know who the heck I am, and why should you listen here, for the next 30 to 45 minutes, right? I was born in San Francisco, California. I was raised in Mexico. And the reason why it's important, a little bit of my background, is because you'll understand that anyone can truly make it in this great business or anything, as a matter of fact, that you put your mindset into and that you're really serious about it, and that you make it fun, all right? We're going to have fun. The whole point of it is if you're not enjoying it, trust me, it's going to be frustrating, and it's easier to quit when you don't enjoy things, all right? I was raised in Mexico for a good portion of 8.5 years. I came back to America. My parents were smart enough to have given me the opportunity to be born in this wonderful, great country, so that I can, have all the great benefits. And I'm forever going to be grateful. I'm going to be thankful that they thought about that. My sister didn't have that opportunity, which is older than me, and the rest of my siblings did. Anyhow, when I came back, I started working, at a super young age. I remember that I wanted it to be with my father, and the only way I was going to be able to be with him was by going to work with him. So I started, folding boxes, pizza boxes, and recycling bottles. Remember that we were recycling bottles, doing pizza boxes, and that was the very first experience that I had. From there, I wasn't making much. I was, barely 9 years and some change. But I saw my family hustle. I saw them working 7 days, 7 nights. I thought that the only way to greatness was through hustle and to just work extremely hard. I saw them, but I also saw that even though they were working extremely hard, I also saw very a lot of scarcity, and the scarcity wasn't because of money. It was, there's people that have money, but there's still a scarcity at their inner being, at their mindset level. And today I recognize it as such. They would always say, "There's no money, I don't have money," et cetera, et cetera. And I realized that to a certain degree was true, but it wasn't true all the way. They were, there was always, food on the table. There was always, clothing. There was always a shelter. But there wasn't, toys, or they wouldn't get any luxury or anything. To them, it was more about work your entire freaking life extremely hard as you can, pull all your body, your soul into it, and then one day you'll retire. The same thing that everybody goes through, right? Now, having immigrant parents that, came to this country, they were, they were hungry. They wanted it to do something great for the family. So that's what I started copying. I remember, from doing the bottling, recycling, and the pizza boxes, I went to become a dishwasher. I was making $35 a day, or a shift, I should say, from 5 p.m. to 12 midnight. And I thought I had it made, but soon I realized that there was always the next level that I could continue to escalate, and I wanted it to do that. Can you guys hear me now? Let me know if you guys can hear me. All right, excellent. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and continue then. My apologies. A call came in on my phone, and I just noticed that probably killed the entire thing. So hopefully we got clear connection, and we're gonna go ahead and continue with it. Anyways, as I was sharing that one of the greatest companies in San Francisco by the name of San Francisco Chronicle, a newspaper media company, saw my great talent, and I was fortunate enough that through that company, I was able to go to UC Berkeley, basically for 6 years, to the UC, one of the most prestigious schools in California, or in the entire U.S., if not the entire world. Not because I was a writer for the newspaper, or because I was, a media person. I was the newspaper delivery boy. For 6 years, I was inside of the UC Berkeley dormitories delivering newspaper basically to, can you guys hear me? Just want to confirm one more time if you guys are able to hear me before I continue here. Okay, beautiful. A lot of people say yes. Don, Bob, Laurie, everybody said yes, perfectly. So anyways, Arun, okay, thank you, everybody, thanks. So anyways, so I went to 6 years to UC Berkeley. I was inside the dorms delivering the newspaper. I started there making about $700 a month. I've always believed that doesn't matter where you are right now, whether you like it or you don't, to always, my philosophy is give your entire excellence in everything you have. Because when you get missed, you want to get missed for greatness, and not because you were lazy or you were cutting corners. And that's my philosophy. I learned it from my father. I saw how he worked with his previous bosses, and I started making $700. I left the company making about $120,000 a year or so. I don't say that to brag about it. I say it because within the company, you're able to escalate, which I did. And I decided to do, real estate. At that point, letting go $120,000 a year income, it was a tough one because, I was already, it was already a habit was already built into it. I just didn't like the time. It was from 1 a.m. until like 6 a.m. And the interesting thing was that I just, felt that, there were some better, greater things to do. So I started, I started real estate at an extremely young age. When my very first, I guess, to a certain degree, real estate experience, it wasn't when I bought it, it was when I leased it. I established a real estate, I actually from the ground up, we built a restaurant. It was already a restaurant, but we had to modify it to our own restaurant in West Oakland, California. I was 18 years of age when City of Oakland actually gave me the opportunity with no credit, with no nothing other than just proof that I had worked all my, my really, I would say kids years. I was able to show them pictures with aprons, with, that I was always hustling. They gave me the opportunity. The restaurant is still there. It's called Peaks of Love, and did a lease for, I think it was 5 years. And then after that, I sold it for, after a year, I sold it, and I got the proceeds from that restaurant. And I asked my father, I told my dad if he will lend me another portion of it. And, I bought my very first triplex in Hayward, California. It was right on Princeton and A Street. Where in the corner of Princeton and A Street, on a very little street called Poplar. 3 little homes. There were about 600 square feet each, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I still remember, the entire thinking that I bought it with. I said, I'm buying it because, 30 days from today, I'm going to own this thing free and clear, and I'm going to be the man. But I know that we could seriously increase our wealth. But that was my mentality back then. I was extremely, extremely young, unexperienced. Bought those triplex. I was thinking one day of moving into one, and then I decided to do something extremely clever. And precisely there, behind that story, there is a great lesson if you're catching it. And the reason being, it's because I call it the triplex fourplex story. The actual homes, there were 3 houses in the corner, and then between 2 of the homes there was a 2-car garage. So what I did is I grabbed the 2-car garage, I converted it, without the benefit of permits. Okay, that's not to say that I did it obviously illegally, but without the benefit of permits. It's a nicer way to put it. I made a 1 bedroom, 1 bath little suite where I took my wife and my daughter to live. And the rents out of the other 3 houses, okay, the rents of the other 3 cottages was paying for the mortgage. I wasn't making money. I think maybe I was cash flowing $50. I mean, to me, it was, I wanted it for the rents to cover the mortgage. And then the biggest realization came at that point in my life. It was an epiphany. When I started doing that little suite, it was an epiphany. Now, it came by force, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't like I was looking for it. It almost as if the universe had intentionally done things in a purposeful way for me to be in a very challenging, forceful way. Let me share why. At the time, I was living in Richmond, California with my parents. I was already married at the time. I already had my first child. And my younger brother, who was always in trouble, okay, not anymore. I'm proud of him today. But at the time, he was really, really young. I mean, imagine, I was 19. He was probably 17. He was always getting into trouble, always either getting on fights and, or fighting somebody or whatever. And I remember that there was a group of people who came that night basically with, the 2-liter bottle, the soda 2-liter bottles. They put some gasoline into them, and then they put a rag into it, and somehow they managed to just go like this, throw it into the windows, broke the windows, and the house caught on fire. And then the next day they came with a shotgun and started shooting everybody there. And we knew that the reason why was because my brother was in trouble. They wanted it to get him, but we were going to pay for him. And that was the moment in time that I told my dad. I looked him to the eyes and I said, Dad, I'm gone. I'm out. I want to live a life of greatness, and I'm not going to pay for someone that it's my blood, but that he's not doing things right. Today I'm proud, like I said, about him. But then I literally left from Richmond to Hayward. I had already owned those 3 little homes, and we moved into the garage, literally moved into the garage without being converted. And we converted the garage basically in the interim. The reason why I'm sharing this story is because I want you to understand how is it that I came to this epiphany. When we were doing that conversion, I noticed that I didn't have to pay rent forever and or mortgage, because with my parents, I was paying for a little studio, was paying, I think it was $500 at the time. Guess what? What is the two biggest expenses of humankind? The two biggest ones, it's number one, it's taxes. And number two, it's either rent or mortgage, right? Well, I was eliminating one of the biggest expenses. Ever since my 19th birthday, I've never paid a mortgage payment where I live. So that was astonishing. That was pretty cool, because I was renting every cottage for $1,000, so I was living in a brand new converted garage, but I was forced to move into it. And then from there, it was like that epiphany led to many other things. So anyways, that's how my real estate, cash flow empire started. It started by accident, I should say, but then it was as if, I had to call the shot. I left the house. My parents left the house. My family left the house. My brother left the house. Everybody, he now is able to, tell the story. And I'm grateful that obviously we all have the opportunity to be alive and to be able to tell that story here. So I'm going to cover, ladies and gentlemen, the 8 reasons why to buy real estate, especially the cash flow real estate. All right. Because it's very important, and then I'm going to cover the multifamily cash flow quadrant that I personally use in a very simplistic format on how to build your own real estate empire. So, fast forward all these years, this real estate that we have been buying, epiphany after epiphany, because when I bought this place, I bought it for $300,000, the 3 little cottages. About 4 years later, those 4 little cottages, or 3, plus the converted garage, was worth about $780. I really thought it was going to take 30 years to pay them all off, and they got paid off way faster than what I thought. And we started just adding more and more and more and more. And I started buying a lot of the junk. My career in real estate started by buying the junk, the properties that wouldn't sell, fourplexes, duplexes, triplexes. It was really on the multifamily world, and majority was on troubled areas. It was Richmond, California, Oakland, Hayward was the only one that I had at the time. But it was mainly Richmond and Oakland. And then from there, we moved and expanded to the Central Valley. But it was on rougher areas. It was in areas that are extremely rough because the economy was doing really well at the time. But yet, these properties were not selling. Because they were not selling, I put my lenses as an investor, and I would, I was on search on how can I do value, how can I add value to basically the asset. And I can tell you ninja tips. I'm going to share some of the ninja tips, what I did after, we go over the 8 reasons. Okay. So remind me of the ninja tips. We're going to cover the 8 reasons why you should invest in cash flow real estate. And number 1, it's because it's proven. Okay. Number 1, it's proven. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to, real estate has been here for as long as I've been alive, and for as long as my parents and my parents' parents has been alive. So, it's a proven, business model, right? Number 2, capital preservation. Capital preservation. At least on all of my cash flow real estate that I've bought, listen to this, all of my cash flow real estate, okay, the multifamily world that I've held for over 7 to 10 years, I've never lost money, okay, never lost money. Think about that. All my real estate that has been held for 7 to 10 years,
but cash flow, that cash flows. The multifamily ones, I've never lost any money. The ones that I've lost money, it's on single family residences where basically there's no money coming in. You know, it's very prominent to be able to lose money. So number 2 is capital preservation. And, you know, Warren Buffett says it loud and clear. Rule number 1 to investing, don't lose money. And lose number 2 to investing is make sure that you copy, you know, rule number 1 and that you get rule number 1, you know, to the letter. Number 3, okay? Reason number 3 is for cash flow. Obviously, you want cash coming in. You don't want to be the one who's paying for the asset. You want others to pay for the asset. And that's through, you know, multifamily or retail or anything that brings cash flow. You know, number 4, okay? Number 4 is that real estate is real. You can touch it. You know, to me, I love real estate. I've had great experiences. I can tell you, you know, that today, you know, my family and I are financially free because of the cash flow that our assets produce. And you know, that's a great feeling, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, it's a real asset, is a real thing that you can touch, that you can obviously get a hold of. Number 5, tax advantages. You know, amazingly, tax advantages like you won't imagine. I'll give you an example. We just closed on a 56-unit building in Los Banos, California. And I'm doing a cost segregation study, and the company who's doing, and if you don't know what a cost segregation, don't worry about it. Just understand, I don't want to dive into it so deeply because I don't want to make it complicated. It actually should be simple, is that, you know, and it is, you know, I don't know how to do a cost segregation study, but I know how to hire the professional who's going to do it, who has the licenses to get it done. And this is what they told me: Raul, you're going to be able to deduct $1.5 million on your very first year. So, ladies and gentlemen, that means we get paid to buy real estate, okay? Listen to this. We get paid to buy real estate. That means tax advantages. Just keep that in mind. There's a ton of tax advantages. You don't have to be an expert. Just understand and get obviously wise, you know, on them by you know, studying and getting educated into that field. Number 6, appreciation. Real estate will go up, you know, with decades. Real estate will go up with decades. It's very important. You know, depreciation. The real estate depreciates. If you don't understand that, anything that is usable structural wise, you know, gets depreciated because of its lifetime. In its lifetime, you're going to be able to depreciate that. Once again, that could be correlated to tax benefits. And then number 8, okay, number 8 is it's leverage. You know, you can invest in stock, but no bank. You know, you could go to Bank of America and say, hey, will you lend me money to invest in your own stock? You know what's the funny thing? The same bank that you're wanting to buy, they will themselves not lend you money to buy their own stock. Or, you know, and if they lend you for, you know, a personal loan, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg, you know, 22% or 25% on a credit card. Guess what? Leverage, you could put, for instance, you could buy $1 million worth of real estate with anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 as a down payment, okay? So the interesting thing is, guess what? You know, leverage, it's a great way on how to accelerate, okay? How to accelerate cash flow, how to accelerate building that cash flow empire. I utilized it. I'll go back into the story of when I was buying, you know, fourplexes, eightplexes. My biggest property at the time, it was an 8-unit building in Ceres, California. And most of them, I was buying them seller finance. Why is it that sellers were willing or were really open to do seller financing? And seller financing is when the actual, you know, seller is acting as the bank, because they were not selling. There was a fourplex, and I'll tell you this story, fourplex in Richmond, California. It was on the street, Ohio Street. It was one of the rough neighborhoods. The property, it was on a great market. It was on a you know, growing market, but the property was not selling. And it was on the market for about 4 months. I reached out to the seller at the time. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think it was on the market, got expired, called the expired, I called the seller after he got expired, and he told me the entire story. He says, well, Raul, it's a rough neighborhood. It's a cul-de-sac, but, it's like, unless you get really well along with those people, you're going to be able to enter there. I say, listen, I want to give it a shot. Can I take a look at the property? I went and looked at the property. It was a one bedroom, one bath, but really large one bedrooms. There were about 825 square feet. 825 square feet, it's a very large unit for a one bedroom. And I immediately said, oh my goodness, if I can do a nail wall, I can make this thing into a two bedroom, one bath. And instead of renting it into, I say 1-1, I can do 2-1. And it's literally 1L on the living room. If I just do 1L, as simple as that, I was going to be able to now collect $200 more in rent. And that was a ninja tip that I can pass you along. That's exactly what I did. I bought the asset for $360,000 at the time. And today I get a lot of what I did then. I bring it today, and I just accelerating too much projects. But anyhow, just to put you into perspective, the seller was willing to finance 95% of the property, and I only came with 5% down. And interesting enough, that was just one of the stories that I can tell you where I made that fourplex from one bedroom, one bath into two bedrooms, one bath, and then sold it for about $750,000 about 2.5, 3 years later. Obviously with full disclosure that the second bedroom was actually not on tax records because it was done without the benefit of permits. All right, just keep that in mind. Whenever there's no, it's not a legal thing. Just without the benefit of permits, they get it. And that's how that started. Brought all that money, did a 1031 exchange, and started buying the Central Valley. We bought left and right. It was on the rougher neighborhoods. Majority of my money was made on the rougher neighborhoods. I love it. The reason why I love it is because, people are people. It doesn't matter where they are. If you are, if you know how to, if you got people skills, you're going to go a long way. Now, if you're, if you only want it your way, you're arrogant, you don't have people skills, you don't care about people, guess what? It's going to be tough everywhere you go. So keep that in mind, all right? And basically, that's just, one of the things that I did there. And that building gave us for, like 3 or 4 buildings. And then I did the same, I refinanced my 3 cottages in Hayward, pulled the money out and just started buying basically in the Central Valley. Nevertheless, as you guys know my story, and for the ones that don't know my story, lost it all. 2008, 2009 actually went bankrupt, and I'm grateful for it. I learned lessons. The ones that knows me, quite deeply understand that I was able to, my parents were able to buy it back from the court. With the judge's permission, the power that the government has, ladies and gentlemen, it's stunning. Okay, they create the rules, they break the rules, they overrule the rules, and they prove anything they feel that it's going to be to their benefit. And I was able, my family was able to buy those assets back. What got me into trouble wasn't the cash flowing properties. The cash flowing properties was not the ones that got me into trouble. It was the fact, it was the single family residences that were, that were getting me into trouble because I had everything under my personal name. Today, very differently. Now, I share that story because I want you to understand, the reasons why you should be investing in real estate, all right? Now, so we got the A reasons. Hopefully you wrote them down, So picture this. My best suggestion that I'm going to give you today is, make sure that your very first property, either your children's property, your, kids' property, or, your family, first property, my sincere, honest suggestion is make it a fourplex, to be a fourplex, because the banks qualifies much faster a person that is looking to buy a fourplex that is looking to buy a house. A house, you're going to end up paying it by yourself, versus a fourplex, the bank actually grabs the income of all the other 3 units and counts it as if it was your income, all right? Now, that's important. How is it that I build the cash flow real estate empire? It's plain and simple. I started with 1. I eliminated the most expensive expense in a person's life, which is rent or mortgage. Because I was living mortgage free or rent free, I should say, I was being able to save $1,000 a month that otherwise I was going to pay somewhere else. Because I was living on the property on one of the converted garages, what I did is I stashed those $1,000. I stashed them every single month. I did that for 4 years. Do the math. 4 years of stashing. While the asset was going in value, was going up, was appreciating, and there was depreciation. So I was, keeping more of my hard-earned money while I was not paying rent. You see why? The 8 reasons that I shared, it's the secret to building a cash flow empire. Listen to this. The 8 reasons, it should be the 8 hidden reasons, because apparently people don't catch into it that easy. Just on the 56, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you understood this. Just on the 56 units that I closed last week, we're going to have $1.5 million worth of depreciation in the first year. That means, okay, and I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm not an attorney, just so that everybody knows out there. But that means, that's translated to me, that I can make $1.5 million this year, net to my pocket, and pay 0 in taxes. Now, who did the rules? I didn't. Who said that you could take that depreciation? I didn't. The government, right? Well, guess what? It's important for you to understand. Now, that's just on one property. What if you do, like, for instance, last year, the goal was to buy 1 property a month. We sincerely missed the goal. I think we ended up buying, and this is cash flow. I'm purely talking cash flow, okay? We set the goal for 12 properties. We ended up with, I think, 10 properties. We sold 1, right after, so we ended up with 9, but 10 that it was for cash flow. The goal was for 12, and we landed on 9. Not bad. Well, I just signed my taxes yesterday. I went to my CPA's office. I literally gave my signature for all the business taxes and the personal taxes and everything, which, I truly like that, that I don't have to extend it, or if we did, it was for a couple of days. But anyways, when I look at all the depreciation that I'm able to take, I'm like, oh my goodness, if people only knew, if you would really only understand that the reasons that I just gave you is the secrets on how I built my cash flow empire. It's faster today than it was at the beginning. At the beginning, it may seem very, very slow, but it's really about you becoming with a plan. Today, fast forward, I can tell you stories, real stories of cash flow buildings that we bought with zero money, no money. Actually, we got cash, not only from depreciation or anything, but buying it very creatively. I'll give you 2 of them very creatively, all right? Number 1, we bought a shopping center in the city of Manteca, California. It's a neighborhood center. The seller started extremely high. We got the lead from a direct mail campaign that we did. And the seller called us saying, I want, the building is worth about $1 million. I want 850. We went and took a look at it. It was obvious that the building was not only managed right, a lot of deferred maintenance. It was not ADA approved for disability. I mean, it just had its own issues. Anyways, took us about 9 months, and we landed into a transaction, into the purchase and sell contract. And the way it happened, going back and forth, the last price that, where the seller was not going to move was $650,000. So he went from being worth $1 million to $850 to $650, but $650 was like the threshold, was the bottom floor. He was not going to move any penny of it. We met a couple of times at Starbucks with him and his wife. He was an older gentleman. He was already tired from managing, living in the Bay Area. He was managing it himself. He was tired. He was getting ready to retire. He says, I don't want to leave the headache to my wife when I pass away. But apparently he was in a bankruptcy, which, generated so many losses that somehow after so many years, if you don't use those losses, they get, they get taken away. And he called me up and said, Raul, I will leave you the asset, the shopping center, at $650,000 only with one condition. He said, you must close it this year. If you close it this year, it's yours. Otherwise, the deal is off the table. And I asked him, why the urgency? He says, because I'm going to lose the benefit of the losses. And if I sell today, I don't pay taxes. If I sell next year, I'm going to end up paying taxes. Okay. I said, all right. Well, I said, I'll do it under one condition. I said, the condition is the following. You're going to finance $150,000. Okay. You're going to finance $150,000 basically at 0% or 1% at the most for 5 years. And you're going to have to be on second position because I'm going to get a first position hard money loan into it. And he after a little bit going back and forth, he agreed to it. He said, fine. We did it all through escrow. And guess what? Brought in a hard money lender on first position. He is basically on second position, and we did the purchase. No money exchange from me to them other than the deposit. And then when we close escrow, they cut us a check for about like $9,000-$10,000. Part of it was the leftovers, but the deposits. That's a good example that it's doable, it's possible, that you can build. As a matter of fact, how we were able to buy 10 properties last year on cash flow wise, a lot of it was like that. At least 70% of it was with no money, knowing that the asset is worth more. Right now, the asset, they just did a VPO, and the value came in right at slightly over $1 million. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this, because it happens more often than you think. But you got to be out there in the, looking, searching, networking, direct mail, or, going to the meetups and connecting with other, sellers, or, you could also grab lists and do cold calls. I mean, you name it. It's really a matter of understanding, that there's enough properties out there. Second property, it's a property in Merced with the same story, the exactly same story. With the difference that I came in, with that one, it's the same story. The only difference is that I came in with $30,000 down. It was a 5-unit building, completely dilapidated, very poorly managed, deferred maintenance to the neck, basically. And what I did is we basically renovated it, and then we moved the seller financing into second position, came in, with first position from a hard money lender, and pulled all the money out to be able to do the renovation. We just finished it, and that thing is cash flowing it's cash flowing about $2,500 to $2,700 per month. And even though I'm paying 10% interest on it, okay, listen to this. Even though I'm paying 10% interest on the money, still cash flowing $2,500 a month. That's just on the 5-unit. The shopping center is cash flowing about $3,000 a month. Now, those are just two examples that we bought last year. Between those two is $5,500 a month. Just two properties, that no money was required out of pocket. Well, with the exception of the one on the 5-unit, but I pulled it almost immediately. As soon as we closed, we pulled it. So I just want you to know that you're going to build cash flow. You're going to build your empire, your legacy, when you learn how to be creative, become a master at finding deals. Okay. So number one, become a master of finding deals. Number two, okay, write it down. I hope that you're writing it down. Number one, become a master of finding deals. Number two, become a master of negotiating. Number three, you got to become a master of being creative. Okay. And number four, become a master at execution. Okay. I call it the quadrant of success. Okay. That's how you're going to build your cash flow empire. Those four things. Raul, I'm not a master at finding deals. I can guarantee you there's somebody who knows how to find deals. You could either partner up and you can do it together, or you can pay for his or her advice and get it done. Whatever you're not mastered at that, you can take the time and learn it, get educated and learn it. And the best way to learning is by practicing over and over and over and over and over and over again. Or number two, partner up with somebody else, with what you believe that you don't have, so that you can build strength. Am I making sense? I hope I am. I know that I'm getting some questions. I'm going to get to them, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see here. We're almost finished. We're almost going to wrap up here in a moment. I've obtained 2 triplexes in San Jose with that same strategy. Okay, Jose is sharing that he actually obtained 2 triplexes in San Jose using the exactly same strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is true in San Francisco, in San Jose, the most expensive and the least expensive area. So it's, congratulations there, Mr. Jose, on it. Now, how did you find it, Mr. M or M Vidales? Okay, cold call, direct mail. Okay, I found them. My 50% of where I find my deals or more is through direct mail, ladies and gentlemen. I got a multifamily campaign. I got a retail campaign. I got a mobile home park campaign. I have a warehouse campaign. I have a single family residence campaign, a condo campaign, you name it, all the different classes. And that's how I find them, basically. Now, I'm gonna cover the multifamily cash flow quadrant, and I'm gonna go really fast. I don't want to exceed on time. So that's how I found them. A lot of it we buy through massive follow-up. Ladies and gentlemen, the shopping center, 9 months of follow-up. The 56 units, 6 months of follow-up. Came on the market, got under contract twice with somebody else. And the third time they actually dropped the price by almost $1 million, and bam, that's when I came in. That's, it is truly amazing, truly, truly amazing. Now, the key to building the cash flow empire is the 4, the success quadrant that I gave you. If you understand those 4 things, then we can jump into the multifamily cash flow quadrant. I look at 4 things when I'm looking at an asset. Very quickly, those are the 4 things that I look at. If it passes the test, then I dive deeper. If it doesn't, there's no need for me to actually look into it. Number 1 is the number of units. Today, I understand this was not true before. Today, I have adopted it, number of units and occupancy. So I'm looking for the more units and the more occupied, the better. Give you an example on my 56 units. 56 units, 100% occupied. 56 units, more than any other property that I have personally acquired, okay? And guess what? By the way, the 56 unit came from the market, and how much money do you think I put in? Just guess. If you can guess, put on the chat, how much money do you think I actually put into the 56 units? Go ahead and guess. You guys know me by now through the webinar. Oh man, you guys are smart. Hey, you guys are smart. Look at that. You're right. Zero. I came up with a deposit, $75,000, and then after I removed contingencies, my partners came with another $75,000, so it was $150,000 deposit. But that came back. In other words, basically all I did is I partnered up. They came in with $1.5 million cash. Boom. Put it as a down payment. And guess what? Got the loan, got the CapEx loan, but zero on my end, like literally zero. And I'm going to be able to get the tax benefit and things of that nature. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for reals. This is no joke. I have a very clear goal. We're shooting for 10,000 units in the next, in the next 7 years or so. And I can tell you that a lot of it is like, you got to learn how to work with other people, how to, being creative. The four, remember those four, okay? Very important. But anyways, let me not get distracted here. I want to go ahead and, so number of units and occupancy. See, this 56 units is bigger, it's more units than what I have, and then guess what? Occupancy, 100% occupancy, beautiful, right? That's not, that's one of the cash flow quadrants that you got to look at. The more, the better. The more occupied, the better. Now, cash on cash. I don't necessarily care about, cap rate so much, even though I do look into it. But to me, it's more about cash on cash. What is the deal going to make on a cash basis? 56 units, we're gonna hold that asset for 10 years. That's the goal. Guess what? Cash on cash is gonna be right around about 10%. Okay, so that means my money, well, in this case, is infinite. It's kind of ridiculous, but if I was to syndicate the deal, which I am pretty soon, I'm just getting all the legalities put together, 10% cash on cash, not bad at all right? For California, by the way, this is not, it's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that there are deals over there, and usually the bigger the deals, you'll find some great value adds. The third quadrant is I look at the debt, at the leverage. Something like this, the banks are willing to do up to even 80% of the value of the asset. So guess what? I'm going to refinance this 56 units in about a year, in 3 months, 4 months from now. Okay, pay attention to it, because it's the debt. When you're doing retail warehouses, or hotels, or anything outside of multifamily, usually has lesser leverage, because it requires more of a down payment. So debt and leverage. What type of debt can I put this? Could it be financed by Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae? If the answer is yes, I like the asset even more. Guess what I did? I called, obviously, a couple of my broker friends and asked them, can this asset be financed through Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae? Why? Because they give you more breaks on rate-wise and things of that nature. I'm actually refinancing one of my shopping centers, and guess what? It was a seller finance one. I just got the LOI from the actual bank. It's a local community bank, and it's going from, picture this, it's going from a 6% to a 5%, all right? But being that it's a shopping center, they only do 60% LTV, meaning, I got to have 40% into the deal. See, that's the difference. That's why I love multifamily in this particular case, right? And then the fourth quadrant, it has to be on a growing market. Growing market meaning employment, population, house growth or house value growth, and things of that nature. So I think we've covered a lot, ladies and gentlemen. We covered a little bit of my story, the triplex, fourplex story. We covered the 8 reasons why you should buy real estate, and how the government literally is paying you to buy real estate, and maybe we don't understand. You think you need money. You don't need money. You need courage. You need a decision. You need a reason. You need a why. You need to be on purpose. That's what you need. You don't need money. You need friends with money. That's what you need. You need quality friends with money, but you need to build your trust with them. You need to, be truthful to yourself. That's what you need, not money. Money comes, I'll tell you this much. Money comes to you if you're sincerely willing to become the best at those 4 successful quadrant things that I shared. Number 1, become a master of finding deals. Number 2, become a master of negotiations. Number 3 was become a master of, help me out here, okay? If you guys got it, go ahead and help me here. So finding deals, negotiation, I know execution, creative. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Thank you. Masterful at being creative, okay? Now, Guess what? You do the, Raul, I don't got two of those. Guarantee you there's somebody who does. Just partner up with them. You know, it's okay to give a portion of the pie. What do you prefer, 100% of nothing, or 50, 60, or 70% of something, or 50 or 40 or 30 or whatever that is, doesn't matter. It's better a percentage of something than 100% of nothing. And that's important. We covered, you know, the cash flow quadrant, you know, basically the multifamily cash flow quadrant. You know, the number of units in occupancy, cash on cash, more important than cap rate. You know, the cap rate that we bought the 56 unit building is 6.3%, something like that, but is not where it is today, is where we're going to take it, is we're going to take it into an 8.5 cap and a 10% cash on cash. I'm more interested on a cash on cash. Debt, what is the debt that you can actually put into that asset? I want assets that we can literally max them out as much as possible, you know, with very cheap money. Like government money is cheap. Like Freddie Mae, it's extremely cheap. You're looking at the 3.9, 4.1% aspect, depending on the asset, depending on many factors. And then growing, you know, that's the fourth multifamily cash flow quadrant, has to be on a growing market. You know, Los Banos, if you actually check on citydata.com, you could, and I'm referring back to that because that's the most recent deal. At the same time, you know, it's been growing for the past 30 years, 5% population growth. You know, value, the value of homes, you know, work is being sustained by, you know, many local companies coming in, you know, to the area, although it's still strongly being sustained by the Bay Area. Not only that, you know, it's a market that there's no housing. There is a struggle on housing. You don't find a vacant apartment unit. Like there is a waiting list. So there's a lot of things. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make it simple. If the multifamily that I'm evaluating has those four things, that's a sign that I need to make an offer. And then I will dive deeper afterwards. Okay. To me, it's in simple terms. That's what I do. Go ahead and build your own cash flow empire. I congratulate you for watching this webinar here today. And like I mentioned to you, every single Wednesday, I want you to know, every single Wednesday at 12 noon, we're going to be covering something different. Sometimes I'm going to be even having guests here, and it's literally just giving back to, you know, my real estate community, to the, you know, new people that wants to be on board, people that are experienced real estate agents, real estate investors, you name it. This is going to be the channel that you're going to get enlightened, enriched. You're going to get epiphanies. And one thing that I want to share with you guys, with all of you guys who are here with me today, is I'm launching something brand new that I want to invite you to, and it's called REIProfitVault.com. It's actually no S, REIProfitVault.com. Go ahead and visit that website. It's basically, take a look at it. It's a membership. You know, feel free to join it if you extremely see value. If what you saw here today, you know, that it's absolutely free, wait until you see the REIProfitVault.com. It's something that I'm building brand new, you know, and that I feel extremely great about, because I know that if I help you succeed and if I can, you know, help you with the items that we spoke about, you know, the ones that you need to master, the multifamily cash flow quadrant, the 8 reasons, if you master those things, trust me, we're going to be able to hopefully, you know, in the future, maybe even partner up together. All right. So congratulations for watching this, you know, webinar. We'll get to see you next Wednesday at noon, you know, at the same channel in the same, obviously, time. Thank you very much. Raul Luna from Modesto. Thanks.